Veronika Corona, the case that moved Venezuela at the beginning of 2018. Veronika Corona was a 16-year-old girl born in Puerto La Cruz, Anzoátegui State, and a fifth-year high school student. She went out on January 31 to downtown Puerto La Cruz to ask for some fabrics to make her high school graduation dress. From there, she went to Arturo's in the old Paseo Colón, where she met Jose Barreto, who was first identified as her boyfriend. And later, according to family testimonies, this was denied. The appointment with Barreto was because the 23-year-old was supposedly leaving the country. Hours later, Veronica's mother had a feeling, since a lot had happened since the young woman left the house and decided to call her on her cell phone. Veronika answered and told her that everything was fine, that in a moment she would be back home. But that never happened. Hello everyone, how are you? My name is Veronika Corona and I am very happy to be here sharing with you my first video on YouTube. Today I am going to present a famous case that happened in Venezuela. So come with me to see all the details. Mrs. Lara said that after that call, they went to the center of Puerto La Cruz and saw Barreto together with a girl named Veronika Cedeño, crying and looking for her, which seemed strange to her since the victim had distanced herself from the other girl because of a fight they had had. The mother went to the Puerto La Cruz police, but was told that she had to be missing for at least 72 hours in order to file a missing persons report. In addition, the relatives were receiving messages about people allegedly asking for ransom to free Veronika, and others indicated that she was in Mexico and to stop looking for her or something would happen to her. All of this turned out to be false. In addition to the wave or messages around alleged kidnappings that invaded the social networks that week. During 6 days, the social networks were invaded by photos of the minor. All Venezuela knew about the disappearance of the minor. Her relatives and friends asked for help in the streets of Puerto La Cruz, standing in the traffic lights with photos of the minor. On February 6, a body identified as Veronika Corona was found, and the autopsy later revealed that she had been strangled. The murder occurred in Guanta, specifically in the Chorrerón sector. Jose Javier Barreto, with 23 years old, was arrested, and hours later, the young man confessed to having committed the crime. It was known that Jose Javier Barreto took the detectives to the place where he had buried the corpse of the young woman. According to images shared by journalist Plebeiza Ostas, the subject had a web page where he published lurid chronicles. In one of his publications, he described an episode similar to the one that occurred with Veronika Corona. In Barreto's confession, it was stated that he wanted to ask for money for the ransom of the young woman. Besides explaining his intention, he also narrated to the officials what happened on January 31. The perpetrator kidnapped Corona, took her to La Cumbre Hill in La Sirena de Guanta Park. He strangled her and threw her down a slope. A few days ago, there has been a boom in social media because it has been due to a story written on Wattpad. If you don't know what Wattpad is, it is a social network where you can publish your writings, novels, poems, chronicles, fanfics. On this platform, there is a great variety of stories that reach success and include several categories such as action, adventure, science fiction, non-fiction, classics, fanfic, everything. However, there are stories that deal with dark topics such as murders, stalking, referring to obsessive harassment of a person, crimes, and rapes. These stories are always false. However, the story presented by Juan Barreto is based on 100% real. And this is a fact, and the most disturbing of the case is that he is the author behind the crimes committed in Conejito, the story that narrates the murder of a girl. The most terrifying aspect of the case is that his victim, the young Jose Javier Barreto, has been telling on his social networks for some time how he would commit a homicide for revenge against a person who had ignored his feelings through his account on Wattpad, Blogspot, Ask, and Facebook. The subject revealed that he was dumb in love with a young woman who did not reciprocate his desires and assured that someday he would take revenge. Parts of his readings reflect a similarity with the act committed against the young Veronika. In his different readings in networks, the murderer defined himself as a schizophrenic person, lunatic, and affirmed that he was like Hannibal. He even claimed that killing was easier than loving. Sources affirm that Corona had given a letter to the young man to say goodbye and explained that they could not have anything because she was a minor. Some of Javier Barreto's accounts were investigated, but they have begun to be eliminated, including his Facebook profile, which was active until a couple of weeks ago. Zoraida Lara and Giovanni Corona, parents of Veronika Corona, murdered last January 31 in the hands of Javier Barreto Curbata, made a statement to the press asking for justice in the case of the young girl. They allege that the relatives of the femicide want to rely on the mental instability of the young man so that the sentence will be less or to prevent him from being in jail. The girl's parents says that he would commit a crime like this if he goes out on the street. No parent deserves to go through this. Now, after long years of waiting, Jose Javier Barreto Curbata, who committed the murder of young Veronika Corona on January 31, 2018, was sentenced to 28 years in prison. The hearing was held at the Palace of Justice in Barcelona and had been deferred several times since he confessed to the crime. He had been held in Barcelona and then he was transferred to Cumaná, Sucre state. Now, after the conviction, the court in charge of the case established in the Internado Judicial José Antonio Anzoátegui and his detention center also, Jonathan Quijada, who is Barreto's cousin and was implicated in this crime, has yet to be arrested in this case. In my personal opinion, Veronika's death should not have happened. The perverse mind of the man who claimed to be her friend led him to commit the murder of the teenager. Nowadays, there are many young people who meet on the internet, and when they got to see each other, they ask to see each other one, which is the worst decision that could be made. There really are no words to describe the pains this girl's family must be going through, and I hope her soul can find rest. On the other hand, the closure of the platform for this reading did not make sense. As worse, things has been seen in other social networks like YouTube, and the same it is still standing. In spite of everything, Wattpad and internet users have united to have a state of mourning for the young woman. So that is all, and thank you for your attention. Have a good night.